Welcome everyone to my Milk to Meat Masterclass. My name is Isabel from the Meat-Based Nutritionist. This is the first time I ever record a masterclass, so please bear with me and we'll see how long it takes and if I can get this done before my baby wakes up. But thank you for being here. I appreciate it, and if you are here, I assume that you are here to learn about baby and toddler nutrition using a meat-based approach or an ancestral approach. So let's get started. So what are we doing today? Quick intro about me. So like I said, my name is Isabel. I am a clinical nutritionist. I did my training in Brisbane at a university where I completed a bachelor's degree in nutritional medicine. I have also done a diploma of fitness, so I am a personal trainer. And before that, back in Sweden, I became a trained chef as well. So I worked in this space for about 10 years altogether, and I'm also a mom of three very energetic boys. I want to say this is no medical advice, okay? So this is just education and my own experience with, my boys and my health. So please go see your own doctor or, practitioner for specific advice. So yeah, this is no medical advice. We're going to talk a little bit about pregnancy, birth, breastfeeding, and starting solids, of course. We're going to go through why we see so many diseases today, especially in kids, what has changed over the last few years. We'll touch on gut health, microbiome, and how the body is detoxifying, things like that. I'll talk about picky eating and things that might arise like eczema, constipation. And I will also just mention the importance of eating seasonal foods and working on your light environment and your child's light environment. And then there will be a discount code for anyone who has taken this class if you would like to purchase my Milk to Meat guide, which is a guide about starting solids using the most nutrient-dense foods on this planet, which will give your child the best possible chance at health, basically. All right. So also I'm sitting outside. Apologize for any noise that you might hear. All right, so this is me, pregnant with my third boy. And so your baby's health starts before you even get pregnant. I've had clients come to me and they ask about preconception care, and I say minimum 3 months if you can. Now, I know everyone, including myself, didn't do maybe preconception care. That's fine. It's just if you know you want to get pregnant, it can be a really good idea to work on your gut health, to clean up your diet, clean up your home, like make sure you're drinking clean water, you're not using toxic like makeup, shampoo, skin products, you're not using harsh chemicals when you're cleaning your home, things like that. And your partner should also be involved in this for the best chance possible to become pregnant and have a healthy pregnancy. Of course, eating a nutrient-dense diet. So it starts before you even get pregnant, and then of course in utero, what you eat, your bub gets fed, right, through the placenta. And sometimes people say, oh, well, you can eat that, that's fine, like it doesn't hurt the baby or it doesn't go to the baby. But for me, and I was nowhere, I wasn't perfect with my diet. Like I did the best I could because pregnancy can be so hard. Like I was so nauseous with all my boys, and you get tired, and we need to be kind to ourselves. So definitely, like, I'm not here to shame anyone. I think I even had Coke at some stage in my first trimester because I was just vomiting so much. I also had medication with my first boy, but that just caused so much, or with my second one, sorry, but it just caused a lot of constipation and issues for me that it just wasn't worth it. Like I stopped that very quickly, and I just kind of suffered through, and same with my third. So yeah, and that's a whole other topic, but just know that obviously what you eat and what you are exposing yourself to will affect your baby, right? You are one, you and your baby, when they're inside of you. It's one system, okay? And interestingly enough, your baby's cells, so stem cells, they will travel like into your bloodstream or into your system, and they will heal any damaged tissue. So your baby is actually healing you while you are pregnant, and it's so cool. And then once you give birth, those cells stay in your system forever. So any pregnancies you've had, even if you had a loss, perhaps termination or whatever it might be, those cells from that baby is still inside of you, and I just find that so fascinating. All right, baby's iron stores. So your baby will start building their iron stores from the time they are in utero. So that is why it's so important for you to eat a diet rich in iron. And all my midwives, I've done blood tests to check my iron levels throughout pregnancy, and they do dip naturally. Okay, it is normal for your irons to go down. You don't want to be like critically low, because that can be dangerous, absolutely. But I find it a bit weird that we are, pregnant women are being compared to non-pregnant women in terms of how much iron we should have. Why are we being compared to non-pregnant women in terms of our iron stores? I don't see how that is helpful or right. So yeah, I expect iron to go down, and the best thing you can do is to eat iron-rich foods. So that means animal products, red meat, eggs, things like that from animals, okay? If you like eating vegetables like spinach or green beans or whatever, sure, eat them, but don't go to plants in the hopes that you are going to have increase your iron stores. So your baby builds their iron stores when they are inside of you, and then at birth, if you can delay cord clamping to let all the blood get transferred into baby, and you cut the cord when it's white, basically, that's the best. In saying that, with all my kids, we've had to cut it earlier. They've all been fine, but I know, you can plan and you can have the best intention and you do your best, and birth is freaking hard, like, oh my god, yeah. So that's just like a little side note, that if you can do that, that is great. Obviously, breastfeeding formula, so breastfeeding is best. If you choose to do formula, or if you have to do formula, that's, I don't judge anyone. For me, I've been breastfeeding all my babies, and I find that works really well for us. And depending on where you live, your formula will be slightly better or slightly worse. I think in the States, so I live in Australia, but I am from Sweden. So in Sweden, you can get like better formula that doesn't have seed oils and things like that. In the States, I'm pretty sure that most formula has seed oils, which is not what our babies need. I mean, they need fat, but the best fat comes from animal fat. And then there's a lot of other things added into the formula, which, may disrupt their gut health, cause reactions, allergies, eczema, constipation, things like that. Of course, they're fortified with nutrients like iron, which is a contributing factor to constipation. So yeah, this, that's also another topic, and but that will affect your baby's health, basically. And babies need a lot of fat, okay? They need minimum around 40% of fat. There might be more, but they are born in ketosis, so they are running on fat. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so why do we see a rise in diseases today, especially, in kids, but also adults? A big topic, but these are just some of my thoughts that I want to go through with you today. So, nutrient deficiencies during pregnancy, and also perhaps not optimal, sperm health from the dad at conception. So I know a lot of the times moms get blamed for so many things, but dad's health also matters, okay? So not eating a nutrient-dense diet while you are pregnant, or perhaps being exposed to a lot of toxins, medications, things like that, will impact your baby's health. as they grow as well. So you do the best you can, eat a nutrient-dense diet. I'm not saying don't use medications, things like that. If you have to, do it. But I'm saying limit them as much as you can, and try to look after yourself to prevent these things from happening, okay? Increased toxic load. So a lot of our foods today are full of toxins and pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, things like that. So I do recommend eating an organic produce, spray-free produce, if you can. I understand not everyone can afford that. But once we swapped to a meat-based way of eating, we didn't have to buy like boxes of produce every single week. We still buy some, but we buy local and seasonal, which also brings down the cost, and it's going to be better for you to eat seasonal foods and cheaper. And so, yeah, we use a lot of toxins today on our produce. And I learned this a couple of years ago, but when the World War II finished, they had all these chemicals left over, right? No one was making any more weapons or bombs or things like that because the war was over. But they had heaps of chemicals left over. And of course, someone clever thought, all right, well, we're going to turn this into pesticides and herbicides and things like that, and going to sell it to the farmers to use on their crops. And so that is what is being sprayed on our food today. It is literally poison, and I don't think people realize that. And you might think, oh, well, you know, it's only so little, or I wash my veggies, or I peel them, but they are grown with this stuff, like it is inside the cells of your produce. So yeah, I highly recommend to cut down on your produce to reduce your toxic load if you can't buy organic spray-free produce. So just something to consider. And there's also toxins all around us, you know, fumes from cars, your cleaning products, like inside your home, clothes we are wearing, there's plastic everywhere, the way our food is just being done and packaged in the shops, things like that. Drugs, you know, sometimes we have to use them, but I mean, there's a lot of toxins everywhere, so you can control what's in your home, do the best you can. I've cut out a lot of cleaning products, for example, and I use a lot of white vinegar, things like that. I don't use much makeup. You know, we don't do candles, scented candles. I use metal boxes and glass jars and things like that, just to reduce the toxic load. And water is another big thing. We have a filtered water system that we are using. There are a lot of options out there for different budgets and things like that. So just do the best that you can. What else do we have? Okay, working women, busy lives. I'm not saying women shouldn't work, because obviously I am working. My point with this kind of section is that, you know, once the women joined the workforce, it took out that component of homemade foods, because, you know, now the mother was working, so you don't have as much time to make homemade meals. And so I think a lot of that traditional cooking, homemade stuff kind of went out the window, and people started buying more ready-to-eat foods and packaged foods and things like that. I mean, there was also, you know, when they invented like the microwave and things like that. And also, you know, they added in a lot of seed oils at the same time into foods to make them more stable on the shelf, to prolong their shelf life. And so people started buying more processed foods because now they had less time, because mom was also working as well as dad, right? So that would have decreased the nutritional value of the foods that families were eating. And so all these packaged foods, processed foods, has an impact on your microbiome in the gut, okay? And that affects your whole body, basically. So, you know, being time poor, that's a huge thing. I mean, that is literally what we are seeing today. People are even more busy, right? So yeah, lack of availability of quality foods as well, depending on where you live. some people don't actually have great access to fresh food, fresh produce, or good quality meats. So that's another reason. Eating out of season. So a lot of you might not know this, but your circadian rhythm and your circadian health and your light environment is extremely important. It is, I would say, just as important as the foods that you are eating, because 1/3 of your energy intake should come from food. Another, the other 2/3 should be from sunlight and grounding. So touching grass, sand, trees, rocks, water, things like that, because we have evolved under the sun, outside in nature, just like any other animal. But today we're living inside under artificial blue light. And so it's sending confusing signals to your body. Your body expects specific types of light at specific times during the day, right? And the sun is telling your body what time of the day it is, what time of the year it is. And based on that, your body will do specific things. That's how we work. That's how all animals work, okay? So eating out of season and just being under that constant blue light is also having a negative impact on your health, which can lead to disease. And like I said, we're eating food-like products. A lot of the foods that we're eating today are not actually food. They are made in the lab. They are highly processed, ultra-processed foods, and we are feeding this to our kids because a lot of parents do it not because they want to poison the kids. They literally don't know, okay? The food marketing companies are so good at marketing this stuff to parents, and they believe they are feeding the kids the best foods that they can, or just like a normal balanced diet, and that there's nothing wrong with what they are feeding the kids. But in reality, what they are doing is they are feeding them a lot of carbs, a lot of seed oils, high fiber foods, because fiber is so great, and they're not actually getting enough protein, they're not getting enough vitamins, and the companies will market this, like rice cereal is a massive thing when you start solids, and so they will tell parents that it's rich in iron, but it's only rich in iron because it's been fortified with synthetic iron, which is not easy to digest and absorb for a baby. 2, it is very likely to cause constipation. It inflames the gut as well, so then you will have even less ability to absorb nutrients from any other foods that you are eating. And 5 or 4, it's rice cereals are often heavily contaminated with heavy metals, and yeah, like there's just real food is the best. Breast milk, then you go with your formula, whatever you can do. Some make their own formula. I don't have my own experience with that. And then eating whole real foods, okay? And so I will talk to you about how you can do that with using my milk to meat guide and why it is important. And I talked about nature already. Okay, we're back. So the 1,000 first days of your baby's health is extremely important. So it starts when you are pregnant, so for 9 months, and then up until your child is 2 years old. So I'm just going to read off the screen. During the first 1,000 days, the brain grows more quickly than at any other time in a person's life, and the child needs the right nutrients at the right time to feed her or his brain's rapid development. So this means that what you feed your baby when they are starting solids and what you're eating while you are pregnant is extremely important. I just want to point out as well, don't freak out if you're pregnant and you haven't been eating perfectly, okay? Aim for consistency, and also know that your baby will get what they need, basically, because your body will take from your stores and give to the baby. So most of the time it's mom that ends up nutrient deficient, which is also not ideal, but yeah, your body has stores and it will give that to the baby because that's the priority. And also there is no fat limit for kids under 2 years of age, because fat is such an important component for growing your child's brain especially. So there is no limit, okay? They can eat unlimited fat, and your breast milk is also very rich in fat because that's what they use for energy, and that's what they use to build cell membranes, hormones, all those things. Of course, they use protein to build a tissue, but it's only around 15% protein inside your breast milk. And carbs, yes. So we want baby to add on weight, and the best way to do that is to have carbohydrates, and your breast milk is really cool. They kind of get addicted to it, and that is to ensure that they come back for more, because the #1 priority for babies is to gain weight so that they can survive. Okay, so here is a graph basically showing when the brain's development peak at specific times, and you can see that we have 3 peaks here, and it's all before your child turns 2. So that is why it is so important to have the right nutrients at the right time. And we're going to talk about what those nutrients are, and we're going to talk a little bit about what is happening in the brain at these times. So we're going to go to the next slide. All right, so you can look at the slide yourself if you want, like take a closer look, but they were talking about the formation of synapsogenesis. So basically it's the formation of synapses between neurons in the nervous system, so in the brain. And so what happens is synapses connect neurons and help transmit information from one neuron to the next. So this is involved in things like learning, memory, and cognitive functions. And again, cool fact. So when you are 4 weeks pregnant, like some people don't even know that they are pregnant, the brain has, I need to fix that. The brain has around 10,000 cells by then, okay, at 4 weeks. At 24 weeks, so 20 weeks later, it contains 10 billion cells, okay? And all these cells are made from fat. So fat is so important. If you are pregnant, you need to be eating fat, butter, eggs, tallow, lard, fatty meats, okay? Yes, you can have fat like coconut oil, avocado, things like that, but you really, really want to go to cholesterol, so dairy products as well. And this picture here is just a like a picture of a cell membrane, because all cell membranes are built from fat, from cholesterol. So you see that hydrophobic tail, it's called, that yellow little tail, that's fat. And intracellular just means inside the cell, extracellular is outside the cell. So you have the red bit there, the head, that is water loving, and then the inside, the fatty bit, is water hating. Okay, so but you just need to know that your cells are made from fat, and you are just like a big clump of cells walking around basically, and bacteria. So eat your fats, and your baby needs fat. So what does this mean? It means that the foods that you are feeding your baby in those first 2 years of their life and pregnancy will have an impact on how well their brain will be able to develop, basically. So you got learning and memory is impacted of this, motor skills, emotional regulation, and cognitive growth. You can read through that if you wish. But just know that what you feed your child does matter. And of course, the experiences that they are going to experience as they grow up also has an impact. But you really want to give them the foundation to have like optimal function of their brain and the rest of the body. And that comes from the nutrition that they are being fed. So what nutrients are we talking about here? Iron, I have already talked a little bit about iron, but iron supports a healthy brain development, red blood cells formation, which will impact their energy basically, and growth. It prevents iron deficiency, anemia. So yeah, like I said, when they are growing quickly, which babies, kids, they grow like all the time, like Sometimes I like look at my baby and I'm like, wow, you're so big, and you just don't even realize that they have grown so much, but they do. So yeah, iron is important for that. You have zinc, important for immune function, cellular growth, skin, and it also supports appetite and taste. So if you are experiencing things like, like you can't taste your food, like it doesn't taste like anything, you might be low in zinc. And so we also have calcium, obviously important for strong bones and teeth and proper muscle function and nerve transmission. Vitamin D. Now, I'm from Sweden, so when I was little, they gave us vitamin D drops. If you want to do that, do that. Cod liver oil is another option, like that's a natural source. But the best thing you can do is sunlight, okay, sunshine. So vitamin D is, essential for the absorption of, for calcium absorption, bone health, immune support. And so, like I said, if you have limited sunlight, try to get as much as you can, and then you can supplement with something like a cod liver oil if you want to do that. Again, omega-3 fatty acids, so DHA, so important, critical for brain development, eye health, and cognitive function, and also in the development of the nervous system. All right, continued. So we've got vitamin A, which supports vision, immune function, cell growth, and it is very important in maintaining the integrity of skin and your mucous membranes. Vitamin B, all vitamins, but especially, vitamin B12, B6, folate, not folic acid. That is a synthetic form which your body may not be able to use. The natural form from food is always going to be better. Vitamin B12 you cannot get from plant-based sources, okay? I don't care what anyone says, you just cannot. So it's necessary for energy production, brain development, red blood cells formation, and nervous system function. Proteins, obviously we need that to build muscles, growth, tissue, repairing tissue, and just overall development, and also for maintaining healthy organ function and growth. Choline supports brain development, again, liver function. Choline is especially important for memory and cognitive functioning. So, okay, cool. Where can we find all these nutrients? I think you know the answer. Animal foods. So, you can take a look. This is a free resource that I have, but literally all the nutrients that I just mentioned to you are found in animal products, okay? So you got the omega-3s, wild-caught seafood. You can, I know wild-caught seafood is expensive, but you can buy things like wild-caught sardines in a can, like in the water, which is really affordable, and you can give that to your baby. I did this with my second child, and he would eat the sardines, he loved it. I struggle. I'm trying to find a nice way for me to eat them, but he would just eat them straight out of the can. And babies only know what they know, okay? They don't think it's weird or gross, because you just give it to them and they will try it. They are very curious, and they try most things. Then you got fish roe. Again, only half a teaspoon a day can be incredible. You have that cod liver oil as well if you want to do that. Just be careful with supplementing fish oils, because a lot of these oils are rancid. So if you can go to the fish itself, like eating fish, that's the best. We also have oysters. Sometimes I just buy them and I eat them for myself, as a nutrient boost. I don't love them, but I also don't hate them. And you can feed that to your baby. Vitamin A. So sorry, the seafood is obviously high in the omega-3s, the fatty acids, and things like zinc as well. And with the sardines, so you have little bones in there, you can't really feel it or taste it, but they are very rich in calcium. So if you can't have dairy for whatever reason, go to sardines, and they're really rich in calcium. You can also get like a bone meal supplement and sprinkle some of that, or you can dry up eggshells and like dry them and you can ground them up, and that's super rich in calcium as well. Vitamin A, beef liver. I mean, liver is just rich in basically every single nutrient that you can think of. It doesn't contain toxins. A lot of people think that liver contains toxins, but your liver doesn't store toxins, okay? Your liver processes toxins, and then if there is something toxic that your body needs to get rid of, it will store it in your fat cells. So that's why sometimes when people start losing weight, they feel a bit crappy because they have all these toxins being released into their bloodstream basically, and so you need to support that, and we can do that in a few different ways, which I also coach moms with like healing and health beyond nutrition, because I do my nutrition coaching, light work, and exercising with them as well. So we will have a little bit of crossing over between topics in this masterclass, but yeah, anyways, iodine, sorry, I can't see. So, you know, fish as well, we talked about that. Fish, eggs, and dairy products, great source. Protein, basically any animal foods that you can think about. They all contain protein. Iron, I've mentioned, so a lot of red meat and liver. You can also do like liver supplements. I've got a few discount codes. I will link it in here somehow. So for me, I take Primal Queen at the moment, and then sometimes for the kids I buy a specific like powder, and I just take like a teaspoon of that and put it into their smoothies, or if I make bolognese or whatever, and I just dump it in there, and that will boost the iron and vitamin levels in that particular food, because sometimes I just don't like the flavor of liver, to be honest. We do like beef liver sausages, can get away with that, and I can put some in if I make like a casserole or like bolognese. But yeah, I have also done frozen liver, so you can take frozen liver and kind of grate it into baby's food. That's fine as well, whatever you feel comfortable with. But there are a few different options. You don't have to like fry liver and eat it. There are ways around it if you do not like the flavor. Egg yolks, again, egg yolks are amazing, rich in iron, rich in fat, super affordable. Buy pasture raised if you can. Calcium, I've mentioned already, so dairy, like milk, yogurt, butter, sardines, and bone broth. Now, if you've been following me, you know I love meat stock, and meat stock is rich in like collagen and all the nice amino acids that you need to heal the lining of your gut. Bone broth is cooked longer and is rich in like minerals and electrolytes, not so much the proteins, okay? So two different things. And I have inside my milk to meat guide, I have a guide on making meat stock and bone broth and the differences between them, and which one to use for like for whatever like condition you have, or whatever you want to call it. Like if you want to heal your gut, you do your meat stock. If you want to just have like a nice electrolyte drink that is not rich in carbs, for example, you do bone broth, or you can just use it as a base in soups or whatever. Vitamin D, like I said, sunlight, but then also fatty fish and dairy products and liver, egg yolks, things like that. And so I just want to say that in my milk to meat guide, I take all these foods. I have created 100 recipes, and I will tell you how you can feed these foods to your child in a safe way, and in a way that they are going to be loving these foods from the moment they start solids and beyond. I did this with Taj. He's 2 in a couple of months, and he still loves, you know, people say, oh, well, you know, as soon as he turns 1 or 2, he's gonna become picky. No, he loves eggs, he loves steak, mince, butter, all those things. And my toddler, who has now been transitioned into like eating more animal based, he was fed a balanced diet, and he very quickly went to loving carbs and refusing to eat meat protein. Like, he used to eat tuna straight out of the can, and now he won't touch it. Like, because I was feeding him, I was so focused on plants and vegetables, thinking that they were like so important. And then of course he didn't love them, like broccoli, things like that. No way. So then I would take like spinach and other stuff and just like pack it into smoothies, which were super sweet, in order for him to eat them. And so then he developed a taste for sweetness, right? Because we come to this, to gut health and the microbiome. And so basically, what you eat impacts your microbiome and your baby's microbiome. And so if you keep feeding your child sweet foods, that particular bacteria in their gut is going to grow. And then the bacteria will tell the brain, which you can see in this picture, they will tell the brain, okay, go eat more of that food because we need that, because the bacteria wants to continue to grow and survive, right? And so it creates picky eating, where they like, no, I don't want that. I want fruit, or I want fries, potatoes, you know, like those white foods, bread, things like that. And the best thing to do is to cut out those foods. And then I have, of course, in my Milk to Meat guide, I have like better options on how to transition your child from those unhealthy processed foods. I'm not saying fruit is unhealthy and that they can't eat fruit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you don't want your child's diet to be like 90% fruit, because the fat that we talked about recently and all those nutrients that I listed for you, those nutrients are not found in plants. They are found in animal products. So you want that to be the focus. And then you can have seasonal local plants and add in to your child's diet. And that can be tricky, especially if you already have a toddler. Like, my Milk to Meat guide will help babies and toddlers. Okay, I have a soon 5-year-old who is so stubborn, probably got it from me. So I've had to work with him, and it's definitely like a process. So it's a aim for consistency, not perfection, and you know, lead by example yourself as well. But anyway, gut health. So the gut-brain axis is the bidirectional communication network that links the central nervous system, the brain, with this with the gut, basically. So this connection involves complex interactions between the gut microbiota, microorganisms living inside your gut, in the intestines, the immune system, hormones, and the nervous system. Okay, so it's all one big system. We are more bacteria than cells. Okay, and so like I said, what you are eating, you are essentially feeding the bacteria in your intestines, in your gut, and then that bacteria breaks down the food and creates energy for us. That's how it works. And I just want to say, there's not necessarily like bad bacteria. There's only the input that you put into your body, and that will affect the microbiome itself. So what you eat is what you are. And if you're eating processed foods and high sugary, you know, rich in chemicals, toxins, things like that, you are going to be feeding that specific microbiome, and they are going to grow. That's just how it works. So people start taking supplements and things like that, and they're like, well, I need to change my gut bacteria. But yes, that is kind of what you want, but you're not going to do that by taking a supplement. You need to change, you need to get to the root cause. Okay, you need to stop eating the foods that are feeding that specific bacteria, because that bacteria is not benefiting you, right? So yeah, you get to the root cause, you take away those foods, and you eat foods that are going to be serving you and grow the bacteria that you want, basically. So let's move on. All right, leaky gut. I'm sure everyone has heard about this. In the medical terms for this is like impaired intestinal permeability. So basically what that means, you can see here in the picture, we have tight junction in the lining of our gut, and it has been damaged. So instead of being nice and tight like that, they are inflamed and they've kind of like opened up and they're broken. And so in that little space, things like pathogens, food particles, things like that can slip through into the bloodstream. When those foods, toxins, proteins, whatever it is, gets into the bloodstream, your body will react to it. That's why we see a lot of autoimmune diseases where the body is attacking itself, like eczema, things like that. I'll show you a slide later. And even like thyroid disease, things like that. The issue itself is not always like the issue a lot of the time stems from poor gut health. And people say, you know, I have clients saying, I can't eat dairy, or I can't have bone broth because it's got histamines, like I can't tolerate histamines, or I can't have gluten, I can't have this, this, and this. The issue is not the gluten, the issue is not the dairy, the issue is that your gut is damaged from often many, many things, okay? So negative input into the body, like processed foods, drugs, toxins from like medication, including, and your cleaning products, the makeup you're wearing, the fumes you're breathing in, the water you're drinking. Then you have stressors, like even things like high intensity training is stressful and can cause leaky gut if you overdo it. You don't want to smash yourself in the gym every single week for like an hour. Not healthy. And lack of proper whole nutrient-dense foods. And what you want to do is you want to heal the gut. And when you heal the gut, you are able to then tolerate these foods again. I used to have eczema all around my mouth. I went vegan. This is years ago. Sorry, my computer just shut down, but I was vegan years ago. And at that time, I went vegan only for 6 months. I was vegetarian before that. And as I went vegan, oh my God, I got chronic infections. I got tonsillitis like 3 times in those 6 months. I've never had that before in my life. I got eczema. I was just sick, low on energy, bloated, things like that. And so I stopped being vegan and I started healing myself. But I could not have dairy and I couldn't have gluten as well because it would just flare up my eczema, but now I can. Okay, so my baby just woke up. But yeah, so once you heal your gut, you will be able to tolerate those foods again. And if you are doing carnivore and you are happy doing carnivore and you have healed a lot because you have done carnivore, keep doing it, okay? But I do have clients who come to me, mums, and they, you know, they have done carnivore and then they introduce foods again that they want to eat. Maybe they want to have some sourdough or some plants or whatever, and they get reactions. That is a sign that, you know, you haven't necessarily healed, because yes, you went carnivore, so you avoided those foods, but avoiding the foods is only part of the healing journey, okay? You also need to work on healing your gut and grow those bacteria, microbiome, grow your microbiome so that you can digest and process more foods, if that is what you want. I use carnivore as a tool, and I go a lot in and out of season with plants and things like that. And yeah, that's just a picture of me here with when I had my eczema. I don't have that anymore. Above is a mom sent a picture to me of her baby who had eczema, and she bought my milk to meat guide. She's been doing my meat stock, things like that, and her baby got a lot better from it. So I love seeing those things. So how to heal meat stock for your baby and for yourself. Even if your baby or you do not have any issues, you still want to have meat stock because it's so healthy for you and it's so affordable. You can do a lot of things by like you can make a lot of stock by just buying like chicken feet and some bigger cuts from a butcher, and you can get like 2 liters of meat stock for like 15 bucks. Whereas if you go to the shops, it's often bone broth, not stock, and it's very expensive. Like 500 mils is close to $20 here. You also want to include ferments, so I'll go through that in my guide, how to kind of start your baby on ferments. You want to start very small and yeah, super small, like half a teaspoon small. And I have recipes on how to ferment your own dairy and do things like sauerkraut as well. You need to stop the negative input, so you need to stop the stuff that is aggravating your body, at least for a limited time. If it's alcohol, for adults now, so alcohol, processed foods, things like that, you want to stop that, you know, for as long as you can. You also need sunlight, we've talked about that. Grounding, you need to be out in nature. You need to relax, go for a swim, go for a hike, things like that. Work on your light environment, because food is only part of the problem or solution, however you want to think about it. I have moms that come to me, they've been doing like fasted workouts, living off coffee until lunchtime, and they are doing like 0 carb or very, very low, and they are wanting to lose weight and they just can't lose weight anymore. And it's because their circadian rhythm and their circadian health is you're having like a mismatch there. So you get hormonal issues and your metabolism slows down, you're low on energy, you can't lose stubborn weight. You might also have digestive issues, things like that. So you need to work on your light environment, meal timing, eating local seasonal food, things like that. I find a lot of women also overdo protein and they're not eating enough fat. And when they do eat plants, yeah, there's a list that I have with plants that can be easier to digest, and like I said, eating seasonal foods. I don't do strict meal plans because what I'm eating is going to be different to what someone in like Norway is going to be eating. I live in Australia now in a tropical paradise, so I can handle specific foods like you know, tropical sweet fruits a lot better than someone in Norway or Sweden because of that circadian signaling from the sun. Supplements, yes, it can be helpful. I don't really recommend supplements for babies. I mean, I do put some beef organs in their smoothies, things like that. You could, like I said, mentioned before, like a fish oil supplement potentially for probiotics and things like that. I do recommend for you to make your own ferments or go to your health food store, and often in the fridge you can find, you know, sauerkraut and things like that, which is going to be more affordable and better for you and your baby's health. So it is crossing over a little bit. I'm talking about adults and then kids, but I mean, kids are essentially just a smaller version of adults, right? We have the same bodies, basically. We want to be eating very similar foods, or babies want to be eating similar foods to us, whole, nutrient-dense foods. And if you do, like I said, so if you have issues with your gut, some people get eczema, some people, you know, have issues with being overweight, some people have sleep issues, behavioral issues, allergies, sensitivities, same for babies as well. So things are just manifesting differently for different people. But healing the gut can lead to widespread improvements in overall health, because the gut is central to many bodily systems. So the gut influences not only digestion, but the immune function, mental health, inflammation levels throughout the body. So since the gut interacts with the brain, immune system, and organs throughout the gut-brain axis, gut microbiota, and hormonal signaling, which I've talked about, healing the gut can address a range of symptoms. So basically, when you heal the gut, you're not just healing one thing. It's impossible to heal and just fix one thing. It's all connected. So by supporting the gut health, you are promoting healing and balance in the whole body, which is why going to the doctor and getting a pill for one specific symptom is not going to heal you, okay? It's just going to mask that symptom, or it's going to suppress that symptom, and then you will have another issue popping up someplace else. Detoxing, so your liver detoxifies your body naturally. You also have your kidneys, like you're peeing, pooing, sweating out things like that. Your skin is also part of your detoxification pathways, and your liver needs a lot of protein to function properly, and a lot of vitamins that are found in animal products, so you can look at that list. But what happens is you take the first phase 1, your liver will take fat soluble toxins and it will work on them, let's say, and nutrients needed for that process is, you know, B2, B3, B6, B12, folate, glutathione, and flavonoids. And then it goes to phase 2, which you can see the nutrients needed there as well, a lot of proteins and B vitamins again. And then you want to eliminate those toxins. So you got urine, bile, and stool. So the liver does this all by itself, okay? I'm not saying detoxifying using herbs and things like that can't be helpful, but if we're talking about kids right now, like, you want to be very gentle, and even with adults, you need to have the foundations right first. You need to be eating whole, nutrient-dense foods that, you know, supplying your body with this fat and protein and vitamins and minerals that your body needs. And then you also, I'm going to talk about fiber briefly. You don't need fiber as a source of, you know, like energy production, no. But it can be helpful because fiber binds to toxins, and then it will help eliminate those toxins through your stool. So it can be things like clay, activated charcoal, or even things like apple. So there are a few ways of doing this, and I teach my clients this in my challenges or in my one-on-one coaching. And I also have some information on this in my baby guide, in the eczema allergy rescue, like a few steps on how to do this, using things outside of animal products. But yeah, just, you know, it can be helpful. You know, we don't need cars. You don't need a car to drive to work. You could take the bus or ride a bike, but it can be nice, it can be useful to have a car. Kind of the same thing. And I'm not saying to have a lot of fiber. It's just that having small amounts when you are healing and detoxifying can be helpful. And sometimes it's nice to just have some fruit or whatever, or, you know, whatever vegetables that you like. So If you don't want to, you don't have to, okay? It's just like a little side note. Water, like I said, is also very important. We are detoxifying and getting rid of stuff. So I'm not saying put your like 1-year-old on a detox. I'm just saying if you've had, you know, medication or antibiotics or whatever, for whatever reason, you can detox the body naturally using foods, water, movement, things like that. And feeding the microbiome, the beneficial bacteria, as well will help. So, anything else to mention here? I don't think so. Okay, I just want to mention with the detoxification slide, the previous slide. So my point with that is kind of your body is detoxing itself all the time. When your body is impaired, when it's under a lot of stress and pressure, other organs like your skin might take over. Like if your liver is overburdened, it has too much to try and get rid of, your skin will come in and help. So that is why sometimes, you know, you're detoxifying, or maybe you're not detoxifying, but you are eating a lot of processed foods, you're being exposed to all these toxins, you get skin issues because one, you have an impaired gut. So all these food particles and toxins are escaping out into the bloodstream where the body is attacking that protein. And so you get signs and symptoms like a rash, for example. But then also your body wants to get rid of those toxins, and so your skin is trying to push those toxins out of your skin, resulting in things like eczema as well. So once you heal your gut, once you are feeding yourself and the baby the nutrients that they need to function properly, and you are reducing the toxic load on their bodies, everything will calm down. And when you do that, they are going to be healing and be able to absorb more nutrients, and so they're just going to be able to heal their skin or whatever the issue might be a lot quicker, right? Now, milk to meat, starting solids guide. So I made this guide because when I started solids with my first, I was doing like a balanced diet, and then with my second, when I got into meat-based eating, first, like when I was 7 weeks postpartum with my second, I got really into carnivore, and I just noticed all these benefits like weight loss, improved energy, improved mood, help better skin, better sleep, all these things. And so then I was like learning more about it, and then I was like, okay, I want my baby to be eating a highly nutrient dense diet, food, when he is starting solids. And so I combined my previous knowledge with how to starting solids using a baby-led weaning approach, but I was like aiming and focusing that towards animal foods. And yes, we did like mostly animal foods for the first 6 months. If you want to incorporate other foods and plants in those first, 6 to 12 months, you can. I'm not saying you have to do carnivore or that your kids should be carnivores. Like my kids are not carnivores now. We just focused on a lot of fat and protein to start off with, to give him a really, really good taste of meat, so that he would prefer eating those foods as he continued to grow. And that is what has happened. So I'm now breastfeeding. This is my 3-month-old soon. He will be doing the same thing for the first 6 months when we start solids. And then after 1, I will include more seasonal plants and ferments. I will probably do ferments between 6 to 12 months as well, just to, just as a little boost with probiotics. But I won't be doing like fruit and grains and things like that, just focusing on nutrient-rich whole foods. Yeah. So my guide will ensure that your baby gets introduced to the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, which, animal foods, which supports your baby's brain development at its most crucial time before 2 years old. It will also provide essential nutrients specifically for babies to help build their gut, strengthen their immune system, and create a resilient child for years to come. Because what we are doing here is we are laying down the foundation of your baby's health, of your child's health. What you feed them early on does impact their health later in life. And so you want to give them the best possible start that they can. And how do you do that? We give them nutrient-dense foods. I feel like I'm just saying the same thing over and over again, but it is really important. And also being outside in nature, playing, in the dirt, in the mud, in the water, getting exposed to a lot of different bacteria is really important as well for their health and their gut microbiome. And when you do plants, just go for local seasonal plants. I would definitely be doing like cooking them as well. If you're going to include them, just cook them, just so they are easier for your baby to digest. I go through all of this in my Milk to Meat guide. I go through with you when to start solids, so what signs to look out for, examples of the best first foods, so what those foods are, how you're going to prepare them and cook them, how you're going to be serving them, how often should you be feeding your child according to age, if they get constipated, what do we do, why are they getting constipated. I have some tips and tricks for picky eating as well. 100 recipes, including ferments like sauerkraut and kefir, sour cream, yogurt, things like that. I have, I will literally tell you how to cut different meats for different ages. So it starts from 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18, 24 months. So it is me as a person. I overanalyze a lot, and I am a helicopter mom. I'm like, oh my God, what can go wrong with so many things? So I have put in all my thoughts and ideas into this book to be as comprehensive and complete as it possibly can be. You will also be getting access to my Milk to Meat community. So it's an online forum where we can connect as parents, we can discuss baby toddler nutrition. You can ask me any questions that you have. I will keep posting any relevant research that I find, like articles, well, anything really. I will publish any new recipes that I create. And I have already mentioned I have an eczema allergy rescue guide that you will get included in the Milk to Meat guide. So essentially it's 3 guides. It's Milk to Meat, it's my meat stock guide, and then it's the eczema allergy rescue guide, plus my forum. And even things like, I'm going to be doing solids again. So I'm going to be buying some new bowls and cutlery and things like that. All low or non-tox stuff, and I'm buying a new lunchbox for my toddler as well. So all those little things I will be linking into this community group, and any supplements that I'm using for my kids I will be popping in there as well. So it's great value. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. If you want to go ahead and buy my guide, you can. If you want to start solids right away with your child, so you can do that, and I will pop the link in here. And I also have a discount code for you guys because you have been listening to me. Thank you very much. Use baby30 and you will get 30% off my Milk to Meat guide. Like I said, I'll pop the link in there, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much for listening.